So welcome back, and I'm super happy to introduce you to Bertolt Meyer, who is with me here now. And this next session will be all about how to actually creatively express yourself even better and different through like technology that is utilized to create new tools to turn disability into like a potential to do things that other people can't do. So Bertolt Meyer is a DJ, music producer. He just released I think it was the first EP, or definitely an EP that's super awesome. And he basically built himself the synLimb, which is a controller for a modular synthesizer that he controls with his mind. Even though it sounds kind of like weird and out of this world, it is weird and out of this world, but it's also amazing. And he will tell us about his journey and why he did that and what he can do with that. And we will, after he's going to show us something as well, we will have even more time to talk about that and ask questions. So welcome, Bertolt.
Hi, Matthias, and thank you so much for having me. This is a great honor, and I'm super excited. It's the first time that I'm speaking at a music conference, I guess. So I am a little nervous. So yeah, I have a day job in academia, so I'm not a full-time musician, although the scenery behind me may look different. But if you're into modulars, you know that's nothing in comparison to what other people have. Okay, long story short, I'm going to talk about for roughly 20 minutes about my project, the synLimb, and I'm going to show you what it is and how it works and how I came to making it. I'm not going to show any slides. This is just going to be a live demo, and if everything works out, we're going to have a bit of music in the end. Okay, so I started out with DJing many years ago, and after a while moved into producing my own music, and as you can tell, I rely heavily on modular synthesizers. I just love these instruments. I don't know, I feel a very deep emotional connection to them. The thing is, I was born without my lower left arm, so I'm wearing a prosthesis, which is this, which works pretty well, right? So you can, oops, sorry, I try not to obstruct my face too much. So you can move the hand around and it responds to electrical impulses from the surface of my skin. So there's electrodes in here built into the prosthesis that pick up the electric signals from my residual limb, which goes until about here. This is actually the battery indicator. And as you can see, it's a pretty nifty thing. The fingers move. However, it's okay for DJing. I can use it to move sliders and so forth. But it's really not so good for operating modules on a modular synthesizer. As you know, modular synthesizers, they have a lot of these potentiometers that you have to wiggle and turn. And that's really difficult to do with a prosthesis with a hand that can't really do kind of this motion that you need to kind of tweak these wobbly things, these potentiometers. So that was always something that annoyed me. With any potentiometer, that is, be it on a modular synthesizer or on a mixing desk or whatever. The thing, though, with modular synthesizers, where these potentiometers in modular synthesizers are different from the ones you will find on your standard mixing console, is that on almost all of these modules, you can remote control at least some of them by sending in an electric signal into one of these jacks, into one of these inputs that are underneath. So for example, in this module, this has two what's called CV inputs, control voltages, and you can just send in an electrical signal into these two inputs here and here, and you can basically tell the module then which of these potentiometers you want to remote control with these signals. And I thought to myself, well, this is kind of stupid. And an opportunity at the same time. So basically, I'm picking up, and let me go to a different camera, this is nonsense. I'm picking up an electronic signal Right, so I'm picking up an electric signal from my arm there. That's converted into a movement here that I then tried to use to turn a button on this thing, which basically converts it back to an electrical signal. And actually you can remote control it with an electrical signal. Now, you don't have to be a genius to come up with the ideas. Why on earth do I need to take the detour from the electric signal from here through the hand into a module like this? Isn't there maybe a way to pick up the signal that the electrode picks up from my arm directly and send it into the synthesizer? And that, that was the idea. And it's actually not that difficult to pull off, as it turns out. I'm a social psychologist by training. I'm not an engineer, but I know a little bit about electronics. I can use a soldering iron. I have a basic understanding of what an electronic circuit is and how it works. So I experimented a little bit and I had a design idea, and I'm trying to cut a long story short here. I ended up striking up a friendship with Christian Zollner, who is the mastermind behind KOMA Elektronik, a Berlin-based synthesizer, musical instrument effects systems company. Because I had one of their products and I realized I think that there is a circuit in there that's very similar to what I need. Long story short, he sent me the schematics of the circuit. I built a very quick and dirty prototype on a strip PCB. That when we got that prototype to work, he designed me a PCB. And my husband Daniel, who is not only an architect but also an artist, he's really good with the 3D printer. So we put together a first working prototype. It's still a prototype. We're actually in the stage of almost having finished the second prototype. So this is actually already kind of 2 years old. So this is not such a new project. And you can see it's very DIY. I mean, the case is out of the 3D printer. It's held together by duct tape at the front because the design isn't very stable. But I can now, let me switch this off first. So I can now take off the hand and put this on. And switch this on. Right, okay, now this light down here tells us that it's on, and there's two outputs up here with gain controls. Let me turn down the gain in this one a little bit so you can see it better, right? With gain controls and amplification controls, so there's two channels each, and what I can now do, and you can see it up here, because there's these LEDs that show the outputs, I can actually send a muscle signal directly to these outputs, which isn't that spectacular in itself. I'm not the first person to have the idea to connect a muscle signal to a synthesizer. However, I think the difference is really that through my disability, I have learned to create these muscle signals in a very intuitive way, right? I need to create these muscle signals whenever I want to move my hand prosthesis. So for me, doing these signals is second nature. I don't really have to think about it. I can just do it. And this is great because now I can apply the same thing to controlling the synthesizer. Okay, now let's skip into a little demo. So let me first change to the wide camera again. Sorry, I have to do this by myself and my multitasking capabilities are somewhat limited. So let's start with this camera angle. Okay, now I need to tilt the microphone a little bit so that you can still hear me. So I have a little bit of a jam going on here in the background, not much really. You should now be able to hear it. it's just, the synths playing a loop, nothing really special. Maybe let's leave it that way. So, and in the melody that you're hearing, the loop that's playing, there is a filter, and of course the filter module is up here. So this gray cable here is connected to the filter module, and I can now plug the cable into the synLimb, which is what we call this thing, and the opening of the filter, it still gives me joy. I only have to think it, and it happens. So maybe let's add a kick. Maybe enough for the time being. You get the general concept, I believe. So yeah, if I'm a little less nervous than in this particular context, I can actually manage, to get out, about maybe, a good half an hour or so of 120, some like live melodic techno stuff that plays between 126 and maybe 130 BPM. I put a link to a more recent jam in the comments. You can find it on my YouTube. So indeed, when I do play live in front of an audience, which happens more frequently recently, because I've been very lucky. On the one hand side, I've been signed by a label here in Berlin. They're called Desert. They're a new label associated with the party of the same name that's been running for about 10 years in About Blank, where I've started to play relatively regularly. I'll be playing there again on December 18. And also I had the honor of being signed by an artist booking organization called Wicked Artists. Matthias can tell you more about that. And so it's been getting a little bit more exposure recently. But the bottom line is this. I was born with a disability that, for a long time I felt has hindered me in achieving my potential when it comes to working the instrument of my choice. And I was now able to build something, or to start to build something. This is far from perfect, and I hope the next version will be even better. But I've started the process of creating a technology that turns my weakness, if you want, into a potential, and that is that I can control some of the parameters of the synth depending on where I plug in these cables, by, at least from my perspective, by thinking something instead of doing something. I mean, of course, when you move your hand, basically it's the same. It's just you think something. But this is just a little bit quicker and it's a little bit effortless. And also I'm doing something that I was unable to do before. So for me, this has not only increased my, music making abilities, but also for me, it has, helped me to think differently about a disability. And I found that quite amazing, that somewhere between music and disability and technology, there is a spot that can actually make you feel better about your disability, that can actually contribute to turning your disability into a potential. And yeah, I mean, the music that I make, it's probably not, it's nothing world shattering. However, and this is really weird, of course, I'm getting actually more exposure because of this weird story and because of the fact that this prosthesis thing makes me really recognizable. And in today's attention-driven economy, and I think that applies to the music world as well, you can't just be, another DJ that plays good music. Even, being another DJ who plays his or her own maybe good music is enough these days. I feel that you have to have something that makes you stand out even more. And today we're at a point where a disability like that, if combined with technology, is actually, as weird as that sound, almost a sales pitch, where people think, oh, that's recognizable, that's interesting, I remember this person. Isn't that the weird person with the prosthesis? And, something that only a few years ago would have been thought as a big disadvantage, especially in the music world, suddenly has the potential to be an advantage in its own weird way. And I'm not sure whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, but I do know one thing. Disability and coolness has never been really associated. A physical disability typically is the opposite of cool, or as aspirable, or whatever. But now we're at a point where a disability, especially in the intersection with music and technology, can be seen by others as something that is at least not uncool, but as something that sparks a positively connotated interest. And that is typically not the reaction that you are used to by others when you have a physical disability. Because typically, having a physical disability creates a sense of awkwardness in social situations. It creates a sense of shame and a lot of unpleasant feelings. But here I am speaking to you in the context of a festival on music and technology, where having a disability can be seen as a potential, both for the music making aspect, but I think also kind of for the community aspect, if you put it nicely, or for the marketing aspect, if you want to put it in a more cynical way. Either way, I think from my personal experience, this is rather fascinating because the music community, in a sense, contributes to maybe valuing diversity in general and a physical disability more specifically in a different way. And I think in this interplay between music, technology, and disability, we can see that there's actually a lot of potential for changing stereotypes on a societal level. And bottom line, and also another bottom line is, isn't it weird that even though that I'm not an engineer, the internet can help me to put me in touch with a supportive and loving community of people, especially in the modular synth world, that will support these kind of crazy idea and that make it possible to build something like this from your bedroom. And I still find that absolutely amazing. Also, like from a community and social perspective. And I think this is another example of the potential that is inside of the communities, inside of the music world. So that's kind of my takeaways from my experience that I had with building the synLimb. That's 20 minutes already, Matthias. I think at this point it's a good moment to wrap it up. I apologize for the slight mumblings. Again, I'm slightly nervous. And if there are any questions or comments, I'd be happy to take them.
Yeah, there's like, first of all, awesome. Thanks for like this super interesting and really like deep dive into what you're doing as a professional musician, DJ, producer, and how you basically, you're on the way to do that. So there's actually one question in the chat is like what your EP is called again. I think you not mentioned it. You just
it's called Walks the Night, and it's you can find it on Spotify. If you my it's just under my name, Bertolt Meyer, and my Bertolt is spelled really weirdly, like Bertolt. If you just put my name into Spotify, you'll find it, and also it's also on
Beatport.
What's it called? Beatport. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a Hannes Bieger remix on there that is really absolutely amazing, if I may say so, due to the wonderful person that Hannes Bieger is and to his extreme musical talent. So even if you don't like the original version, please do check out Hannes Bieger's awesome remix. Sorry.
Okay, go for it, guys. There's like a couple of comments like that, like because you said that it's your first music industry conference or music festival kind of thing that you talk about that thing. This is probably why we have a lot of comments that say, this is the future we're seeing right now. You must be a time traveler. Like this is so cool on many levels. Like it's like really like this is not a topic that has been discussed a lot. Like first of all, we have to begin like the music industry has not been like the technology was not a big part of music industry conferences until 5 years ago. Now it gets more and more into that space, and I think that bringing up people like you who can actually show what innovation means when disciplines merge with each other, like the DIY scene, the maker scene, the hackers, the people who are basically, I think like most of us have some kind of relationship with music, and making like people able to pursue a music career in a way that is unusual. I think it's an amazing thing. And the only thing is that I guess that your prosthesis is something that can only be worn by you. Like another person who would have like an underarm that's missing would need another prosthesis,
well, good point. So that's true when it comes to the socket. So everything from here to there, that is actually custom made and has to be. However, this connector... It's so
weird when you're doing that.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. Apologies. This connector, that is actually industry standard. So anyone with a lower arm prosthesis should be able, at least within certain systems, there's different ones, and of course they're no compatible. It's terrible. Anyways, so anyone with a prosthesis like this should be able to pop this on. And actually, that's what we're aiming for. I mean, it's like the niche. Like, how many people are there probably in the world who have an arm prosthesis or two and an interest in making electronic music? You can probably count them on one hand, no pun intended. So the idea is, of course, to release this in terms of open source. Because you just need the design for the PCB that's in here. And then you can use some internet service to have that etched. Then you need the list of material, the so-called BOM, the bill of materials, and you can buy that on the internet if you can get the chips, because they're all really difficult to get at the moment. And you need this 3D printer for printing the case. The reason why we haven't done that yet, and I'm not sure, is this recorded, or can I be like, can I be honest?
It is recorded, but we can cut that out if you want.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Okay, let me sugarcoat it. There are a lot of rules and regulations governing medical devices like prostheses. They are scrutinized under much higher standards in terms of safety. And let me put it this way: I can imagine that it's not principally allowed to connect a prosthesis via a cable to a device that's connected to a 220 volt mains. So in the second version that we're working on of the synLimb, there will be a component in there that ensures a complete physical decoupling of the circuitry that's body side and synthesizer side, so that they're signal-wise completely decoupled, so that even if there was a current hitting from the synth into the prosthesis, it wouldn't pass on to my body. And that's actually quite a complicated thing to pull off. To transmit a signal while having electrical insulation, it's actually not that easy. Long story short, so we're doing that to make it really safe, and only then I will feel, conscious enough about this to release this to the internet.
Okay, cool. This is but there's one thing to actually, and I think it's awesome that you're gonna make that open source. So everybody who has this kind of disabilities can build themselves a controller like that. But this is one thing to make the technology available. But you said that there might be only a couple of people out there who would be interested in using a prosthesis to control and create electronic music.
Correct.
But I think there would be lots more of them out there. I don't know how many people are out there with without a lower arm. I don't know, but I guess that
nobody
they probably
does. There are no statistics.
Okay, we should get it. We should make these statistics in order to actually create or tell people that there's a market for that. Because I think the other thing is that once they have this prosthesis, and this is a question that I have to you, is how does it? I was super amazed right now when you plugged that thing in and the filter opened. How does it work? You said you just thought about that, but somebody without a lower arm who plugs in the prosthesis, how does he know that he has to think about this and that to actually open up the filter or close it or pitch or whatever you're going to control with that? So there's also a learning thing with it, right?
Yeah, but okay. This is really difficult to explain because this is stuff that's really muscle memory, and by definition that this is stuff that's really difficult to put into words. So when you're fitted with a prosthesis like this for the first time, what you learn is, okay, there is a muscle somewhere here in the lower bit of my arm, just after the elbow, that when I flex it, the hand moves. Right, so you learn that if you flex a muscle here, something moves there. And basically this can really only do open and close, and then there's a lot of gimmickry to make it do more complicated things. But really, this is a very simple 2-channel control. Flex a muscle there and it opens. Let me turn this so flex the muscle there and it opens, and flex the muscle here and then it closes. And at the beginning of using a prosthesis like this is a very conscious thought process. You really have to train, you have to learn. But I've been wearing a prosthesis like this for 20 years now. And so for me, this has become second nature. It has proceduralized. It has become automatic. I don't have to think about it anymore. It's the same as for you. You don't have to think about what exactly you have to do to open your hand, right? You just think that you want to open your hand and it happens. Now, imagine I would chop off your hand, stick a cable into your arm, and the only thing that you had to do is do the same thing that you used to do when you opened your hand, but suddenly now the filter opens. You don't think really, I want to open the filter, but you just think the same thing that you always thought that opened your hand. You just realize is that it does another thing. And that, I can't describe it in a better way, I'm afraid.
No, it's super, it makes total sense. And it's that what I wanted to know is if everybody could do that who has to wear a prosthesis, if everybody could use your synLimb thing instantly, yes. Or if they have to
no. If I'd say they need to come to the point where it becomes automatic. For example, I said earlier, I'm not the first person to think about controlling a synth with muscle impulses. So if you own a modular synthesizer and would like to try the fundamental concept out, you can actually do that just by buying a module. There is a very, in my opinion, great Portuguese module making company. They're called ADDAC Systems, ADDAC. And they have a module It's called muscle sensing, and it simply has an input where you can connect standard medical electrodes that are used in the medical field. For example, when you have your heart checked, they will stick there are these electrodes, they have these peel off stickers, and you can just, stick them on your skin, and they have these little jacks that are like push buttons that you would usually have for clothing, and you can connect a cable. And then you can do it. The thing is, though, so I have two of these flying around here somewhere. It works. You can just stick these electrodes, for example, to your chest. The breast muscles work really well. But the thing is, we're not used to doing that, right? So you sit there with these electrodes sticking on your, and you really should shave before, but because if you peel them on, it's really painful. But the thing is, right, then you have them, and then you have a different connection to your synthesizer, but you're just not used to producing these signals, so it's super awkward, and it's something that you have to learn. Actually, oh God, I forgot to switch on my proper lightings here. See, that's how nervous I am.
It looks so good. But at the end of the day, it's like any kind of instrument. You have to learn it, and you have to practice it, and the more you practice with it, the better you get with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's one question that's even though we are already over time, would it be possible to turn the muscle signals into other electronic signals, for example, for a computer or something like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the next version of the synLimb that we're building, we're trying to get a Bluetooth module on board that will just send out the signal via a Bluetooth LE, and basically it should be able to connect to anything. So I'm looking forward to controlling my PowerPoint presentations with this or something.
Wow, that sounds good.
The possibilities are endless. There's something else that I've been experimenting with. I have a Microsoft Xbox, and for the Xbox, there's what's called the adaptive controller. So it's by Microsoft. It's a game console controller designed for people with disabilities. And the thing is, it has these 3.5 millimeter input jacks, so that people can design their own hardware, like push buttons, whatever, to control the game. And I'm currently working on an interface that will allow to interface the synLimb with that, so that I can use the synLimb, this exact one, without any further modifications on the synLimb side, and use the models the muscle signals for AB. It still won't be good enough to do the stick, but for AB buttons, it should be good enough, I think.
Awesome. This leads me to my last question. I really want to ask you that. It's like I can't do what you can do because you have this prosthesis. So you have basically turned a disadvantage into an advantage. Do you feel that this, I don't want to get into deep transhumanism and that we all become half machines, half humans. But at the end of the day, you have now an ability that makes you, as you said, it's your USP, even though your music is great as well. But at the end of the day, it has marketing reasons. It has standalone reasons. Yes. I can't have that because I'm not going to chop off my arm to just be able to do things that you can do. So is there do you feel that there's is there an advantage that you are having now? Or do you see that this could be a field of enviness or some kind of you know what I mean with that?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, so first of all, I'll have to try to keep this short. So first of all, I can do something that you can't, but the number of things that you can do that I cannot do outweighs the things that I can do that you cannot do. You can play the piano with two hands, you can shoot a bow and arrow, you can climb a mountain, you can become a goldsmith, you can become a firefighter, and the list is endless. So although I have a very, very specific different ability in a very, very specific domain, I still have a disability. I still cannot do a lot of things that you can do, and this aspect is not prominent enough in this discussion. I'm not a superhuman being, I'm still a being whose capabilities are way below average due to my disability, and there's no sugarcoating that. And no technology in my lifetime will do away with that. I'm very, very certain. However, technology, high-tech technology, always has a certain psychological appeal because it emanates competence. Technology comes across as competent, and to a lot of people it comes across as cool. So it's really fitting into a certain stereotype. And therefore, and that's what our research that I do at the university shows, bionic prostheses like this have the potential to offset the stereotype about people with disabilities, because they compensate the lack of attributed competence by, having this technology appeal. And they can do something else. They become a tool of differentiation. They make me stand out. And this used to be a standing out that was societally negatively connotated. But now with technology, even though these devices are still very limited in their ability because of the discourses around them, because of the story we tell about them, because of the labels that we use, cyborg, superhuman, and so forth, suddenly they are seen in a different light. And they make me stand out positively. But that is not because of the technology. That is because of how society works. And quite openly, that's how capitalist society works. Because we live in a system, and the music industry is just one of the many systems that we have, where standing out is rewarded or is a potential for success, and we're all competing for success. And only if you have a system like that in place, you can have the mechanics, the social mechanics that we're currently discussing here, pop up. So I know I was supposed to give a short answer, but if you are really wanting to go into this transhumanist stuff, this is not a technology discourse. This is a societal discourse, and you can't address these issues about a potential future where man and technology merge without discussing the societal and the economical systems in which we're embedded. Sorry, that has become more of a lecture than an answer, but I think
no, but that's really good. Like
it
had to be a lecture, because it's like there's so many different variables that fit into that, and it's like all the things that need to be considered when we talk about this kind of topic. So I could talk on with you probably the entire day about that topic, and I think it's super interesting, and we should do that at some point, and we should put that more into the spotlight, and also make people getting inspired about what you have done and what's actually possible these days for people with disabilities, without disabilities, through technology, how it can extend your creativity. And I thank you so much for showcasing what you have worked on, and your music, and giving us the lectures and talks about how you feel about that and what it made with you, and what you're planning. So I'm really looking forward to follow your journey, and thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much again for having me. If you want to follow along this journey, my Instagram, which is Bertolt01, is dedicated only to all of the music stuff that I do. So if you want to keep up, do follow me there. And again, Matthias, thank you so much for having me. This was fun, and now I need a drink.
All right, go for it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.